Then they'll serve dessert. If you want to stay and eat all that, that'll be fine. But at least we won't have kept you, okay? So Jason's got another few moments.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to John because I was supposed to introduce John. And I was going to introduce him in a way that's saying, you know, he knows me well because he's worn medals with my picture on it, you know, with the Purple Heart. And the first letter that we know that George Washington wrote was either at age 9 or 11 to Dear Dickie. And Dickie was Richard Henry Lee. And he was saying, thank you for the picture book you sent me, and I've been reading it to my younger brothers and sisters. And then at the bottom of it, he writes a little poem. So you're in the great tradition of George Washington. How's that? You know. Anyway, but then Fred First is going to be following me, and you know, Washington was, of course, you know, is a symbol of America, as is the eagle. And of course, Washington led us through the Revolutionary War, and so that connects with War Eagle. And Fred First is a War Eagle. War Eagle. Anyway, so you know, you have to understand that. You know, so anyway, that's that. But anyway, there's been a lot of sort of personal things, and sometimes people say, "How is it that you got into doing this thing of representing Washington?" And I say, well, it's all described by Jeremiah 1:5. And that says, God knew his purpose for you before he formed you in the mother's womb to be a prophet to the nations. And so that's why God took an extra long time to form an extra long nose on me so I could portray George Washington. Anyway, but actually, it is amazing. As I was appointed to the Mount Vernon Board of Governors, Mount Vernon Board of Trustees some years ago by Governor Gilmore. And that was after Mount Vernon wrote an article saying George Washington's mother, no love lost. And it was a terrible article. So I defended motherhood, you know, so apple pie and cherry, you know, all that sort of cherry pie and so forth. But I then was appointed to the Board of Visitors. And when I was doing that, all of a sudden we had to write a biography, and I remembered something that I had forgotten totally. When I was 10 years old, I was in the boys' choir in Trinity Church in Newport, Rhode Island. And they paid us $3 to be in the choir, so that makes me a professional singer. It also gives you a measure of professional. But I took that $3 and went out and bought a bottle of silver polish and went back to the box pew where George Washington had knelt in prayer and polished the silver plaque on that pew. And then gave the rest of the bottle and the rest of that $3 to the rector as a bequest to maintain the Washington pew. And I had totally forgotten that. And then I didn't do anything for Washington for 35 years. But it's amazing how God can put things to us when we're a child that then shapes the course of our life, as George Washington's father with the prayer books. But I want to finish with this to say, and you may remember that we now are in a situation of terrorism. And in our time, a tyrant terrorized New York by attacking with 30,000 men. Filled the skies with explosions. Filled the harbor with ships. Our backs were to the Long Island Sound at Brooklyn Heights, and we barely escaped with our lives. And we had to fight for 8 years to gain our liberty. And we may have to fight for 8 years to retain our liberty, not only for America, but for the entire world. Now, we got nearly destroyed there. And the Maryland Old Line protected us, and we were able to evacuate in a miracle thing. We just got out of there was a fog bank, and we were able to evacuate, and just as we got out of range, the fog cleared, and we were out of the British being able to capture us. And then we had to evacuate New York, and we had to retreat through New Jersey. And what they did to our houses and our wives and our daughters was just undescribable. I got to the Delaware River And I had my army cross the river, and I took every boat from the eastern shore and moved it to the western shore, or sunk it so the British wouldn't be able to follow us, and we'd have some time to regroup. Understand, the Congress hadn't bothered to pay our men in months. They had scarcely been fed. Many of them had no weapons. Most of them had no ammunition, and some of them had no shoes. But we had some great soldiers from Ipswich who came and was a cobbler and made shoes for our men. But and then we captured a ship, a British ship that had 15,000 shoes. But because of selfishness, they didn't get delivered to our army. And so my men had no shoes. On the 18th of April, or December, I wrote to my younger brother, John Augustine, and I said, I don't know what to do. The game is just about up. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I don't know what to do. So I did the only thing I knew to do, and I went to God for guidance. And I knew what I'd do. I'd do a surprise attack on the Hessian garrisons. They were like the shock troops of the British Army. They were some of the finest soldiers in the world. They wouldn't be expecting us to attack, and the British were offering them a bounty for each head of an American soldier they chopped off. Now, why would these soldiers, these men, these boys follow me? They didn't have weapons, they didn't have bullets, and these men would chop their heads off. Well, I don't know if you remember Thomas Paine. He wrote the essay Common Sense, which got the leaders in Philadelphia to vote for the Declaration of Independence. On the 23rd of December, he also wrote An American Crisis. And I read that and read it to my officers and ordered that they read it to each of the men. And it went like this: these are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldiers and the sunshine patriots will, in this crisis, shrink from service to our country. But he who here and now stands with me deserves the love and thanks of man and woman from all across America. And they did stand with me, and they boarded the boats, and we went across the river, first to victory at Trenton, and a few days later again at Princeton, and the American cause survived, and the cause of liberty for America and the entire world was revived. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America.